Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Don Mafia Report, live Monday through Friday. I think it's at 10:30 a.m. EST right now. Started off at 10:15. I've transitioned over at 10:30. Just getting my morning started, right? I get my workout done. I have a nice little breakfast, do some shit around the house right before I hop on live and talk to my friends about Buffalo Bills football. You read the title correctly. I am standing on business. I'm going to die on this hill. I don't care what these teams are bringing in the playoffs. There is none of our Achilles heels in our way. There is no excuse for the Buffalo Bills not to win the whole damn thing this year, or at the very least make it. I think that this is the most favorable AFC playoff path that I have seen since Josh Allen has been the quarterback of this organization. Sean McDermott has been the head coach. Quite frankly, zero excuses. Now, folks, right before we dive into it, I need to give a couple of shout outs to our proud partners, but please do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up sign for me and subscribe to the channel. We just ended up cracking 50,000 subscribers. That is absolutely awesome. I love each and every single one of you. And as always, roll call in the chat. Where are you tuning in from? Always curious to see how far Bills Mafia truly extends. Guys, I need to give a giant shout out to this one company that I just started working with. And I'm going to tell you what, they are giving away or running a contest for Super Bowl LX tickets. It's called Covered. Covered is a personal finance application. They're coming out with a credit card here in January or February with like 100% cash back. It's one of the coolest ways to turn your expenses, track your expenses, and the craziest thing about this app is that you can actually play games. Say, for example, that you were to go out and like you bought like a couple of cases of garage beer or something like that. You could actually play a game on this app to potentially win back and cover that expense on this application. It really goes in depth on where you're spending your money and how you're doing it. And more importantly, they're running a specific event where you end up signing up for it completely for free. You are going to be entered into the context of getting some potential Super Bowl LX tickets, guys. Covered app. It's in the Apple Store. It's in the Google Play Store. Go on ahead and check it out. Take your personal finances seriously and potentially win some of them back. It's great. Shout out to Covered for being a proud partner of the channel as we go into the playoffs. Followed by that, I need to give a giant shout out to our good friends over on Sleeper. Folks, Sleeper is the #1 player prop platform on the market today. It is a very simple process. Pick anywhere between 2 to 5 players. If you accurately predict their projections, you could be a big winner, sometimes up to about 1,000x your overall return. They're giving you $20 just for signing up. Link is in bio. Certainly go check those guys out over at Sleeper, and we appreciate you guys for being a proud partner over here. Where's everyone tapping in from? Let me know. Do not be shy. Nice haircut, Dan. It was not my call. My friend. I bet that the Buffalo Bills were going to win the AFC East. I was wrong, and I put my hair on the line. But have no fear, man. I will rock this buzz cut shamelessly. Go Bills. What's up? SoCal's in the Florida. Miami, Florida's in the building. Toronto is in the building. Chattanooga. What is going on? Brooklyn, New York is in the building. Sao Paulo, Brazil is in here. Billings, Montana. I love the cut, bro. Thank you so much. Oregon is in here. Tupelo, Mississippi. Baltimore, 716. We are all over the place here on Bills Mafia. Guys, I cannot do my Tuesday edition as the dust is settled from this previous game on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles without my good friend, Antoine Burton. Let's go ahead and bring my guy in real fast, and let's talk a little ball. I'm going to go into Antoine. What is going on, my friend? How's life?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, man. Living the dream. How you feeling after that loss to the Philadelphia Eagles?
I got to be honest. First off, I'm loving the dew. That's first.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. I've gotten a lot of things, man. I've gotten it so it looks like you should be DJing at like some club in Miami. I've gotten it looks like you should be trying out for Breaking Bad. I've gotten it all, man. I have gotten it all. I've gotten that Sid from Toy Story. Oh man, it's it's rough, dude. It's rough.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, no. I'm giving my true emotion. I really did not leave that Bills game discouraged in the slightest.
No, me neither.
like not even close. I felt like there were so many encouraging things that came out of that game. There were just so many fluke, and I'm not going to make excuses for
No.
professional athletes, and I'll say it. Josh Allen lost the game. He
Yes.
not only did he lose home field advantage, he lost the MVP. Seemed like honestly in one throw.
Yeah.
But I love the narrative. I didn't think Josh was healthy. Again, not making excuses. He just did
No.
not look like he can move around in the pocket like he usually does, which
No.
that happens. But as far as encouragement, I love this narrative going into the playoffs. I feel
Me too.
like I feel like Josh Allen is going to go into next week, take the first series, then we're going to get Trubisky in. We're going to rest that ankle. And, it's seeming to me that, Josh Allen's going to come in like Wyatt Earp when, the Cowboys killed his brothers and rained down a storm on the teams in the playoffs, to biblical proportion. Hopefully it's, we get to see the New England Patriots. But I like that narrative not being, top of the heap as far as the MVP, the best player in the league, even though he's the best player, no matter if he gets the trophy or not in the world. I truly, truly believe that. But I'm extremely encouraged by the Bills' defense. Oh my goodness!
I know, dude. Where did that come from?
It's effort. It's effort.
Yeah. Put it out.
We said this last week. It's gap consciousness and effort. Our secondary looks great. I love how Bishop is coming along. Benford's getting healthy. Even Bernard looked like he was shot out of a cannon a few times. And I'm looking forward to being a little under the radar.
Yeah.
Really
Me too.
Embodying that kind of blue collar, Buffalo Bill kind of mantra to where people aren't expecting a lot. And I think this was one of those psychological games, Dan, that the team has heard all year from the media, social media, of how horrible the Bills team is and how great Josh Allen is. Yeah. And I think this was the perfect game to allow, Josh Allen to get a few shots from the media that he lost the game. The rest of the team looked great. And that allows you to kind of have a different mentality going into the playoffs.
Yeah. And it's great that you brought up Josh Allen, right? Because as fans, we never want to criticize QB1. I've done it a couple of times this season where I've said, you know what? As much as maybe I can empathize with the fact that the popular narrative is it's Joe Brady, it's play calling, it's what have you. A lot of the key denominators that we saw on Sunday were things that we saw toward that lull right in the middle of the season. Like, it wasn't just that 2-point conversion that he missed, which is not something that he misses quite often. I would put him up 49 out of 50 times he's going to make that throw. Don't want to make excuses. It was probably with that conditions, but I don't think this is going to be a trend for him going into the playoffs. But I think it went deeper into that as well. This is probably the biggest challenge I think our offensive line has seen. And yes, he was seeing pressure, but I thought there was no excuse for him to take that 30-yard sack that got us out of field goal range, right?
Awful.
I also didn't think that there was much of any excuse for that fumble. I'm not sure your thoughts on that. Like, that was pretty heavily debated. I typically end up siding with the referees on these things. Maybe that's an unpopular take. I thought it was a fumble. Regardless, I don't think he should have had himself in that situation in the first place. Just throw the football away, right? Or just take Ty Johnson in the flat right in front of you. I know that it wouldn't have converted into a first down. Maybe the Bills didn't particularly trust Badgley, and it's pretty clear that was the right choice since he was actually cut yesterday. But a lot of self-inflicted wounds that I saw from QB1 as into why we lost this one. But then again, I'm thinking, how much of a priority was this game for Buffalo? And of course you want the players, and they're always going to take it seriously. They always want to win these games, right? But sometimes I almost wonder, has Buffalo reflected in the past, looked at, hey, we have really screwed ourselves going into the playoffs previously by fighting for seeding toward the end of the regular season, stack up a bunch of injuries, of key players on our defense, offense collectively, do it again in the wild card round, and we see ourselves in complete body bags by the divisional. I don't know, man. I'm kind of wondering what Buffalo's true intentions are going into this playoff right now. And you can expand on that.
I feel like they've been methodical all year. If I'm being like, now that the season is starting to come to an end, I think the whole organization has been extremely methodical. As far as Badgley, get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Yeah, done. Yeah.
And like you said, as far as the fumble, I think it was a fumble. I think it was bad conditions. I think he went to go throw it, and then the defender came in his line of view, and he tried to re-grip it in a throwing motion and let it go. And he thought if he could act it out as if he was throwing it, then he would win that battle. Obviously, that was kind of the turning tide of the game, even though it was extremely early. Missing a 2-point conversion, coming up 6 inches short on a scramble, Josh Allen for a touchdown. So there was a lot of little kind of freak things that would never happen. But at the end of the day, irregardless of what the Philadelphia Eagles roster is or what their record is, they're the most talented roster in the league.
Yeah, true.
Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the things that the Bills were able to put on tape were extremely encouraging. And I feel like going into the next week, I believe it's the Jets. Like I said, I believe Josh Allen will get that starting streak going. He'll get some rest. They'll rest some people, get some guys healthy. And I think the Buffalo organization loves where they're going, how they're feeling, the continuity going into the playoffs. So I feel like there's no like we talked about it last week. I feel like the general manager and I feel like McDermott has got a lot of fire this year.
I know.
But how they're kind of developing their roster and their win-loss, it's not quite the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. It's not quite that, but it does have a little remnants of kind of, putting things together at the right time and next man up kind of mentality. And I love how they've done that as an organization, and it should be commended as opposed of, the firestorm of people saying Brandon Beane's got to go, McDermott is, I think that's the true fandom. But I like where we're sitting. I don't care if we go into Jacksonville. I thought about what you said last week a little bit. Going into Houston for the first game, little scary.
Yeah, it's the word. Yeah, it's not ideal.
I took out of the game for Philadelphia. We're a little soft at that guard spot, Dan. We're a little
with Osiris Torrance you're talking about,
and Edwards
and David Edwards. Yeah,
I love McGovern. I love Spencer. Deion Dawkins, a Temple teammate of mine, and I just that middle's a little shaky, because they're pressing the pocket on Josh. I think we need to shore that up. But outside of that, there are not a lot of things that I'm sitting here like as a fan worried about.
Yeah. So I think when it comes into coaching and play calling, I think oftentimes that's just a scapegoat for the fan base, right? And like they automatically say, oh, it's because of vanilla play calling, or, oh, it's Sean McDermott. He should have did this. He should have did that. I'm not sure if I'm crazy, but a lot of the gaffes that this team has seen all year has a lot of the time has been lack of execution, whether or not it's Josh taking a sack that he shouldn't, whether or not that it's him missing a read, whether or not that it's fumbles, whether or not that it's self-inflicted wounds. This team is still very efficient. Like going into it, like people think that I'm nuts when I say this. I'm really big into advanced analytics. This team, from an AFC perspective, we're the most efficient offense in the NFL as far as how we perform on a regular basis. It doesn't necessarily account for the highlight or the low light plays. It asks like, okay, like how does this team perform 90% of the time, since we typically, or most fans, look at a game and only remember the highlights and the lowlights. I'm feeling good about all of this, but I think a question that goes into this, and this is a narrative that I don't particularly have an answer for because, again, I've never played. You have played in the league before. We often hear sometimes, we're just like, maybe the Buffalo Bills are quote unquote holding back their playbook, right? I don't know how to think about that because Many people suggested that Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs have done that for the past couple of seasons, where they just open everything up in the playoffs and they let, like, their strengths really come out into the forefront. Is that a thing in the league, at least offensively, where like you're in pregame meetings and like you see coaches say, look, this is the game scripts. We're not going to move really away from this at any point. This is what we're going to do. And we're saving a lot of this for more impactful games moving forward. What's your take on that? Is this something Buffalo's potentially doing? And do NFL teams do this in general?
I don't think that there's this huge kind of, quantum leap of a playbook. You do what works. And if it has consistently worked, our run game, our dual tight ends, those things have worked. I don't believe that they're going to go against, they broke a record, as far as rushing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, you're not going to go away from and try to create all these new things. And something to that, bro, they hit the smoothest hook and ladder,
Yeah, we're the best hook and ladder team in the NFL, clearly.
That was the smoothest hook and ladder.
It was, man.
And that's deep into the playbook. And they had the proper call, for the 2-point conversion. People are playing to win. I don't think, if you have resources and you have tools that you feel can help you win in the NFL in a 17-week season or a 17-game season, you're going to use it. So as far as like kind of holding like the tricks in your bag, I don't think that there's too much relevance to that. I'm sure there are some things that you might want to cook up the week of, depending on the opponent that you're going against. But I don't believe coordinators, coaches, everyone's trying to win. No one goes out there like, that Philadelphia game really didn't mean too much. It was more like a barometer, as opposed to playoff implications or huge playoff implication. So I don't believe that to be true. I believe you're going out there to win. And that's why when we had the conversation, last week, I love going against Houston for a second time. I love it because you know what's coming. You win against them. You understand, like we've seen Jalen Carter blow through like, oh my goodness, blew through him like Charmin,
I know.
Sometimes that is more of a scale than actual scheme to feel another man's body, for a DB to understand the receiver's cuts, for a wide receiver to understand how a DB is going to play you. I believe that's more relevant than actual scheme.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting. Now, I wanted to transition over to something because this is actually a hot button debate right now on Twitter. So the Buffalo Bills are playing the Jets at 4:25 on Sunday, and some people are in the camp of we need to rest our starters, make sure that we are as healthy as humanly possible, or we need to go on ahead and we need to play for potential seeding. As of right now, we are the 7th seed. The Chargers just ultimately ended up announcing that Justin Herbert is not playing against your Denver Broncos. All right. So I'm not sure if Trey Lance has something in the bag, right? Doubt it. I'm probably going to go with the Broncos on this one.
He looked great in preseason, Dan. I'm just,
he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, listen, I would not be shocked if Trey Lance goes out there, man, and earns himself a contract next year. Who knows? Your next Miami Dolphins quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. But then something else could potentially happen where the Chargers ultimately end up losing. And we have Riley Leonard, true rookie for the Indianapolis Colts, pulls off an upset against the Houston Texans next week. We would be the 5th seed then. What do you think the Buffalo Bills' goal is going into this game? Is seeding really important to them, or is health more of a factor? And do you think that Buffalo should play their starters for the majority of said game, or should they rest them? Because with this NFL, they're super sneaky this year. They have all of the seeding implication games going on literally at the exact same time. So what would your thought be? What would you do?
My thought would be I'd love to be a Monday morning quarterback as opposed to a Sunday morning quarterback in answering the question. If it were me, and it's 50-50. You don't know. Quinn Ewers looked great for Miami, this past weekend. And Drake May could sit. Who knows? And the way things shake out, I would go if I'm Buffalo, I'm going for the win, but I'm not playing Josh Allen.
Got it.
Like that's the way I'm looking at it. I feel like it's a good enough team to where I believe we can beat the Jets, and here or there, rest some guys maybe on defense. But we don't. I don't think we have depth. It's kind of funny. We have a little bit of depth at the D-line spot. It's been this like interchangeable kind of thing, but
it's been weird depth, but strangely effective.
Yeah. So, and I don't know where, and maybe where Judon is in the mix. I don't know where that's at yet. So I'm looking to rest maybe 1 to 3 key players. Obviously, Josh Allen being one. But as far as seeding the people who matter right now, and the biggest games are in my mind New England and Buffalo. And the Jags, they're all big. Houston, I don't know, bro. I'm trying to rest 1 to 3 people, important people. But if I need to get that seed to either get home field advantage or a bye, going for it all day.
Mm-hmm. So I think I'm probably on the same page as you. I don't think Josh Allen is going to play. I think we're probably going to see most of our backup offensive line. Maybe Judon ultimately ends up getting elevated just because I feel that we need TJ Sanders inside all the time. Like, he needs to develop. He has no place playing as an edge rusher. He was like that for a lot of this season. But then again, I think that raises the question. Yes, the Jets are awful. And perhaps I think that they're not really putting in a lot of effort, since I believe that they are chasing the most, best possible draft pick here. But like, my question becomes, are the Bills backups good enough to take down this current New York Jets team? We have Breece Hall went down with an injury, so he's out, right? With Brady Cook, I mean, no disrespect to him, but it's pretty clear that like he has no business being a starting NFL quarterback at this point. I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like Miami's way more dangerous right now than the New York Jets. And I could be wrong. I'm not in their facility. This team does not have an interception all year.
It's crazy.
Which is insane. And they're, like you said, they're vying for, Mendoza from Indiana. And I believe they're packing it in. I don't think they're trying to leave with this man, we're going to ruin something for the Bills on their way out. It's hard to have a season like the New York Jets have had. And then give up their best players in Quentin Williams and Sauce Gardner. I just can't see the morale being high enough in a rigorous NFL season for the last game of the season to give, your best effort. I just can't see it. So to answer your question, I do believe that our backups are good enough to, accumulate a win in the last game of the season.
And so we ultimately end up taking care of business with a win. The Buffalo Bills would become your 5th seed, but then we'll just say that the Broncos end up winning theirs. We'll say the Patriots beat the Dolphins. So they have already won their division, so that's likely going to be meaningless. They're still going to be fighting for that 1 seed, though, especially when they're going up against the Broncos, in case Trey Lance ends up putting out like a crazy ass performance. And we'll say that Houston ultimately ends up getting it done. We would be the 6th seed. The 5th seed is interesting to me because either of the opponents, so I feel like, are 2 different stories. With Pittsburgh going back into Pittsburgh, I would probably think that's the most favorable matchup for Buffalo. But then if the Ravens ultimately end up taking that division,
it looks scary right now. Outside of the Lamar Jackson kind of whatever's going on with that part of the team, it look a little scary.
And so I look at like how all of these favorable matchups could pan out for us. And what I'm looking for is, okay, what team could hurt us in the run. And granted, shout out to the defense from last week because, I mean, holding Saquon Barkley to 3.8 yards per carry is certainly impressive. And that was run the damn ball type weather. So I don't want to hear people say, oh, and the Philadelphia Eagles, that wasn't a part of their game plan. That should have been their game plan. That was run the football type weather right there. That was just the Buffalo Bills rising to the occasion. But ideally, when I'm looking at opponents, there's particular running backs that don't necessarily strike much fear in me. As far as the Patriots are concerned, if we're the 7th seed and we go into New England, surprisingly, I feel pretty confident about that matchup because while Trevion Henderson has had himself a couple of good games, they're not very consistent when it comes into like really destroying teams on the ground. Same thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I guess ETN has been having a pretty solid season, but he's no Derrick Henry in my eyes. I'm not losing sleep over Jaylen Warren and the run game over in Pittsburgh. So surprisingly enough, once we go into Wild Card Weekend, is it crazy to say, of course, outside of Houston, that Baltimore would be my least favorite matchup out of the potential Jacksonville Jaguars or New England Patriots? Is it that crazy to say?
I don't think it's crazy to say because Derrick Henry's like gaining steam.
I know.
And as Bills fans, it's like stuck in your head that Monday night game where he just broke it.
I know.
It sticks in your head of, even the first game of the season, he got off against us, even though we came back with a miraculous win. But Derrick Henry's scary for us. Mm-hmm. But if you can get him stopped before he gets going, it's a moot point. Mm-hmm. I'm not really scared. And if I'm being honest, Henderson does give me a little bit of, the edges bother me with the Buffalo Bills. Running on the edges bother me. With the one,
as much as I love Joey Bosa, he has been awful at stopping the run.
He's like, falling on the ground. You can see at the point of attack, he's not really knock him back. And he's struggling. He's going like sideways, trying to get off blocks. That concerns me. And the one little small, big run that Saquon had, it was inside that broke outside. And Henderson is that type of a back. You know who else is that type of a back? Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
And those two have gas.
Last night was crazy. I know.
So the edges bother me. So Henderson actually does – give me, and that'll be in the playbook, no doubt about it. Vrabel will go back to that game and see that, their rookie star running back had 150 plus yards in the runs that he was able to, accumulate those yards with.
Man, it's really just trying to avoid like a solid rushing attack type team, at least during wild card weekend. Once you get past the wild card round, it's no excuses in my eyes. Just play your best ball, just limit the turnovers, and you should stamp your ticket right into Santa Clara. But it does come into the conversation. We sort of touched on this last week, but based off of what we've seen from week 17, who is your most ideal opponent if anything has changed in your eyes? What do you think is better suited for Buffalo? We head to Jacksonville. I'm not sure what the weather is going to be like. Probably in the 60s if I was a gambling man. Great football conditions. We go into New England, a team in which that we beat the last matchup, and the first game that they walked out with a victory was due to 3 self-inflicted wounds, or a Pittsburgh Steelers / Baltimore Ravens. What is your best possible matchup based off of how this Buffalo Bills team has been constructed?
Dan, I don't know if you're going to necessarily, like my answer. Because I don't know if I'll answer the question, but for me, it does not matter. It does not matter. Okay. I don't believe a full, healthy Josh Allen could lose a game.
Yeah.
I feel like Dalton Kincaid, we need to give him like, a $200 million contract because he always seems like to be the missing link. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he didn't play in this last game. This little spark from Brandon Cooks to be able to stretch the field, we only need you for a month, Brandon Cooks. We only need you to lock in for a month to be able to utilize the arm strength of Josh Allen. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like our offense is so not unpredictable, but underrated outside of Josh Allen. And I think people just aren't respecting that. So
Mm-hmm.
nobody in the playoffs really gives me this unfavorable matchup. I
No,
feel like we can
I agree.
outplay, and I feel like we've seen this in the last game with the Philadelphia Eagles, talent for talent on paper. Only
Exactly.
thing that on paper most people will say that we have is Josh Allen. Even Saquon Barkley being, he should have been the MVP. Like, I don't want to say should have been Josh. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But I believe most fans, NFL fans, would say Saquon Barkley is better than James Cook, but that couldn't be further from the truth. So
No.
on paper, I feel like offensively, I think we're a tough out. I think we're scary. I think we've played this whole year without finishing a full 4 quarters. No team has been able to see the Buffalo Bills put forth 4 full quarters of onslaught. And
Yeah.
I believe that still is in the stable and will come out in the playoffs. I really do feel like this loss from the Philadelphia Eagles, the way he lost, this is grinding Josh Allen's gears. And I
Yeah.
truly do believe his experience will supersede any of the matchups that seem unfavorable to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. So that's a really frustrating part about the offense because, like, we've seen, like, we are outscoring teams in the second half by like 105 points. I saw it's nuts. It's nuts. Like, we're able to make some pretty crazy adjustments. And when it comes into the game, I understand adjustments. And I think I have a theory as into why I can see a second half defense like really make quality adjustments. I could see the argument where some defensive coordinators are interested in seeing if the opposing offense will show all of their pitches or show all of their game plan in the first half, wasted in the first half, and then ultimately end up responding once they get a good idea of what their game plan is entirely. I don't have an answer for the offense, though. Like, from what you're seeing, um, why is this? It's not just second half either, because we saw in the Cleveland Browns game 2 weeks ago where we looked like world beaters in the first half, but then in the second half, maybe it had to do with Josh's injury. But what are your thoughts? Like, why do we struggle and we can't put things together until the second half, sometimes even just the fourth quarter?
I think this it exemplifies the moxie of Josh Allen and the offense. I think a lot of times, you go based off of who your leader is. And your leader is Josh Allen. And I truly believe he has a certain, he's a killer, make no mistakes about it. But I do believe he has a certain level of patience. And I
Yeah.
feel and a certain level of moxie that is surrounded by like this kind of inner peace, so to speak. And I feel like as fans, we look at it sometimes as lackadaisical or like stalling. But I've watched most of the games from the Buffalo Bills this year, and I don't think that they're necessarily stalling. It's almost like a penalty here, a drop pass here. It's these things that come with the game. But I truly don't believe. I believe it's kind of like an awkward confidence. If I'm being completely honest with you, I'm watching the game. Any game I've ever watched, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Dan. I'm not sitting here like
No.
we're out of the game ever. I'm
No.
never watching the Bills game like we're down 21. I was
Not once.
I was at the Baltimore game live. So and I've never just had this feeling like, man, we can't score 17 points in this amount of time. I always feel like we have a chance, and there's a reason why we have a chance. Damn, we got a pretty damn good offense.
We do. We do, man.
That's just the truth. I wish I could,
It's execution gaps. It's execution gaps, and it's us putting ourselves in awful third and long situations. That's, in my eyes, what it is. It's not scheme. It's not play calling, because everything we do, why it succeeds and why it doesn't, is just based off of actual player execution. And that goes down to all 11 guys on the field.
The only tangible thing that I felt like has hurt us were sacks. I believe
Yeah.
that's true, tangible. Sacks have hurt us.
Yeah.
Outside of sacks, you know, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we got a pretty solid offense, and we'll put them against anybody in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I am on the exact same page. Um, Transitioning right over here, we had QB1, right? He's been dealing with a foot sprain. And then on one specific sack on Sunday, we saw him wincing on camera when he was brought down. While it's not officially official what the actual injury is, some of like our like PA Twitter accounts are assuming that it is a midfoot sprain. I'm curious, first off, have you ever had that during your playing career? And what type of pain do you think Josh Allen is really experiencing if you did had something like that?
No,
And
it's
is it affecting his game?
no question it's affecting his game. I think there was a stat he had. This is the first time in his career where he's had 35 dropbacks and
Yeah.
0 passes on the run. Like that stat in itself, and I'm not a stat guy. I'm one of those, my eyes don't lie. You're more of a stat guy than I am, but
Yeah.
this stat, he looked uncomfortable. There was no, and it shows. I'm sitting there watching this game as a former player. Like, I know how tough that is, especially being a mobile quarterback. Dan, you need your feet.
Yeah.
The quarterback, everybody thinks it's the arm, it's the shoulders up and it's the waist down. Those are the most
Yeah.
important parts of a quarterback in their game. So I believe it's hurting him extremely. I'm sure the organization is going to do their due diligence and give him all the treatment and rehab that is necessary. I'm just glad it's not a Liz Frank, because you
Yeah.
could get to a situation where that it grounds you. We've seen what's my guy's name, Joe Burrow with a toe, and
Yeah.
that cost him half of the season.
Yeah.
But I believe it's an issue, and I believe Josh Allen's a tough football player. I don't even think he's a quarterback. I think he's just a football player.
Yeah.
And I believe he's not going to show it. But someone who's played the game, like it's rough.
Yeah.
He's going to take one series, Dan. Mark my word. He's going to take one series just to keep his start streak going, and then he's going to rest up. But it's a struggle for your feet, man.
Yeah. What would you estimate his pain index is right now? And what do you think his pain index on a scale from 1 to 10 would be if he rests against the Jets going into wild card weekend? Should his pain be close to normal, or like should he feel close to normal by wild card weekend? Or do you think he's probably going to be dealing with this for the rest of the playoff run?
At this point, Dan, everybody is trying to get to 3 out of 10. Everyone's 3 out of 10.
Everyone's 3 out of 10. Okay, fair enough. Everyone's 3 out of 10. All right. 3 is 0 in NFL players' eyes. I got it. Okay.
I believe he was in the game. Josh Allen was a 7 or 8.
In pain?
But the adrenaline, he's probably playing at a 4 or 5. And you can just tell, when he tried to run in for that touchdown, he didn't have that push, that extra little burst, to cross that touchdown line. And that, for me, watching was like, yeah, he doesn't have all the juice, and he's trying the best he can. I think by playoffs 2 weeks, or not really 2 weeks, I believe it starts January 10th. So it's about 12, 13 days, somewhere in there. I think he'll be at a 3 or 4. I truly, if he rests up next week, which I'm almost positive that they're going to rest him. I don't see why they wouldn't. So I look forward to a healthy Josh Allen. And you can tell just by the way he answered the questions on media asking him about his ankle and his foot, that straight kind of stoic, I'm fine. That is a true, egotistical man. Say, like, don't worry about me. You just come see me when the time comes.
Yeah, got it. Okay. So last question when it comes into injuries as well. Like, what does like a team do to assist players that are dealing with pain management going into a game? Like for a foot injury, for example, is there like a plate that goes into like your cleat? Are there like some sort of pain relievers that are given to a player prior to it? Like we've heard Aaron Rodgers say,
You're trying to get me in trouble. You're trying to get me in
trouble.
Oh,
no, never mind. We can move forward. Yeah, we can move forward.
There's there's no true bionic men. You're trying to tape it together, some type of, creams or stim units, ice,
Mm.
heat, rehab, stretching, whatever ailment that you have.
Got it.
You heard in the game against Philadelphia, what's my guy's name? Number 98, Jalen. The name, he had 2 shoulder surgeries.
Yeah,
I'm here in Denver, Colorado. The middle linebacker Singleton had testicular cancer, had surgery, and then came back and played I want to say 2 weeks later.
that's insane.
So this is a different type of. I'll just be honest, and maybe I'm biased. Football is a different game, bro.
Yeah,
I'm 42 years old, and my pain tolerance is I'll go to the doctor and they say this is wrong and that is wrong, and I'm like, I really don't feel it. I'm still bench pressing, close to 500 pounds. I can still squat 5, and I got a
nice.
herniated disc and a bulging disc. You know what I
Oh
mean,
shit.
bro? It's psychopath, bro.
Yeah.
Like it's a different game, bro. It's a different game. So no one's sitting here thinking my boo boo. They're
Yeah.
they're thinking I'm going to get to this bone before you do, and I'm going to do what I have to do to get it before you do.
Dude, man, you know what? That was some very useful information right there. Ladies and gentlemen, every single NFL player right now is at a 3 out of 10 as far as a pain index when it comes into their injuries. So keep that in mind, man. But folks, that's going to have to do it for another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. I hope all of you have a great New Year's Eve. I hope you have some plans. Make good decisions, all right? Whatever you guys are doing. And what you got going on, Antoine? And so some big New Year's plans on your end?
No, I'm going to church, my friend. I'm
Perfect.
I got 2 girls, bro. I had this conversation earlier. The older you get, the less you need.
Yep.
The more you realize of what's really important. And I'm trying to find as much rest before the chaos comes in 2026. So I'm chilling. I'm trying not to eat too much more sugar, bro. The last week was rough.
Dude, it's bad, man.
Ooh.
It's really, really bad. Like with Christmas cookies, it's called Buckeyes. Are you familiar with Buckeyes? It's like peanut butter balls covered in chocolate.
Bro, I am a peanut butter and chocolate addict since
Me too,
9
man.
years old. It's a problem.
It's bad. It's bad, man. But so I did end up getting a creamy. It's called a Ninja Creamy. You familiar with those?
I am.
All right. Well, I started making some of those protein ice creams.
Connoisseur.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a solid cheat for me or whatnot. It tricks me right into thinking that I'm just downing an entire container of chocolate ice cream, but it's 30 grams of protein at the end of the day. So that's been pretty solid. But yeah, man, we're on the exact same page. I was stuffing my face all holiday season. I'm back on the carnivore diet for the past week. So I'm just starving myself of sugar and carbs for the past couple, and we'll go from there.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm literally bought wooden bowls, wooden kind of plates. All I'm doing is steak, chicken, eggs, avocado, and vegetables, fruit and vegetables. Straight caveman,
dude,
bro.
It works, dude. It really, really works. But
I'm on it.
We'll see what's going on. But and so I try to incorporate a cheat day though, or a cheat meal, I would say, once a week or something along those lines. But it's good. Thank God all of that holiday food season's out the way. But I mean, you and I are on the exact same page, man. I don't think that I have stayed up to midnight for New Year's Eve for about 6 years now.
That's a fact.
I'm typically passed out by 9:30 or 10.
That's a fact. That's a
yeah,
fact.
I just wake up.
Going on?
Me, dude, that honestly, I might go out to dinner right downtown, and then I'll probably be in bed by 10 p.m. I'll probably watch the finale of Stranger Things or something like that right before I pass out and just call it a day.
I dig it, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Folks, need you to go subscribe to his YouTube channel. I DM'd you for the link of your YouTube channel. I'll go on ahead and I'll just put it in after the post record. Guys, with Antoine's going to be my regular guest on Tuesdays. If that works for his schedule to unpack everything, next week is going to be a hell of a lot more of an exciting episode because we know exactly who we're playing. We're going to unpack the challenges that they present and go from there. Are there any final words you have for everybody, Antoine?
Go Bills.
Go Bills. That's what I'm talking about. See y'all soon. Peace.